Well, if you haven't already, you need to go check me out across audio platforms. We are now also streaming on Anghami, which is a platform that I've been wanting to explore for quite some time now, and I'm so happy that we're finally doing it. And on this episode of Karishma Connect, I've got Miss Palatable and the lady behind it, Mukta Purain, who has founded this platform years ago when e-commerce wasn't as big as it was, and she tells me about the challenges and how she navigated it, what made the journey special, and how she has seen the industry evolve from then to now, what people can learn from it, what people can take away from her journey, and also certain tips about sourcing, clean beauty, how to keep skincare natural, simple, and close to the heart, what products you must look out for, how can you buy them on her platform, and they've also recently launched the Summer Travel Essentials Kit and Summer Glow Up Kit. So go get your glow with Miss Palatable, and while at it, do remember to check out Karishma Connect across platforms. Until the next one, Karishma Connect. Thank you so much, Mukta, for joining me on Karishma Connect. I can't wait to get to know more about your platform and what you do, how you do it, and I'm sure the audience is going to love it. So, firstly, thank you so much for making time for Karishma Connect.
No, thank you so much for having me here.
Most welcome. Mukta, the first question I ask anybody on this podcast is you tell your journey best. So dig right in. Tell me your vibe, what's your passion, how did you start, where you are today, how did you arrive here, and what makes it so special to be where you are?
Okay. So the beginnings of Miss Palatable actually happened in 2016. I was pregnant with my first son, and I was suffering from a lot of sensitivity in my skin to the point that whatever products I was using before my pregnancy, I couldn't use it anymore. And unfortunately, at that time, there weren't that many options within Dubai. The only options were whatever was in Boots or whatever was in Sephora. So I found myself throughout my pregnancy just constantly ordering online and getting all these cleaner beauty brands delivered to Dubai from all over, from whether it was from Asia, from Korean beauty brands from Asia, or wherever. Fast forward, I gave birth to my son in November 2016, and I was still doing this because I had already gotten into the routine of constantly buying online, and it was really working for my skincare. That I really started thinking, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous how much money I'm just throwing down the way. Just ordering online and getting it shipped, and why do we not have options over here? And that's really how the idea of Miss Palatable started to brew. So you can say that, 2017 February was when I bought the domain and started building the website. And so I like to say that I had two babies at the same time. I had my son and I had Miss Palatable. And we launched in October 2017. So it's been 5 years now.
Wow. Wow. And were you always in this? What did you do prior to that life of yours?
I have never been in the beauty industry in my life. I mean, the closest thing to beauty was like, me being in my early 20s when YouTube was just starting up and watching YouTube videos of like, the older beauty influencers like Michelle Phan, Makeup Geek, and all of these guys, So I guess you know how old I am. But that was all. It was just something of an interest. My background is actually finance. Yeah, so before this, I was actually currency trading, and I was working in investments and all of that. So completely different field, using a completely different side of my brain.
But did that help you in any way? Of course, it would have, I think, right?
I mean, it has definitely helped in terms of like operationally, in terms of operations and how to get the brand kickstarted, getting the brands in, the numbers and all of that. But where it didn't help was on the marketing side, communication side, which I was really not familiar with.
And when you started it out, first of all, tell me the logic behind the name itself. How did that kind of come around?
So that's a really interesting story. It actually came up while I was sitting on the couch with my husband, and we were thinking of names. So my husband actually came up with the idea of palatable, which is a which is two words. It's actually palettes. So beauty palettes being palatable to your
Got it.
skin.
That's
So
interesting.
we kind of put the two words together.
Uh,
And then I was just feeling like, just calling it palatable just didn't feel right. Something was missing. And again, this comes back to my age. I remember growing up, there used to be this denim brand that was really, really popular when I was, late 90s,
mm,
early millennium, called Miss 60.
mm.
So I kept thinking about that, and I was like, what if we called it Miss Palatable? It gives it a bit more of a playfulness, a bit of a cheekiness, and it also came down to the idea that I wanted this brand to be a bit more fun,
Yeah.
because at that time when it came down to clean beauty or organic, at that time it was more natural and organic.
Yeah.
Brands were very holistic, very like earthy, green, browns.
Mm.
Whereas I wanted it to be more bright, more fun. So I thought adding the mist would give it a bit more of that playfulness.
Yeah, yeah, and it does. It totally does. It makes it sound like a peppy brand at the first instinct itself. Coming to your starting journey, tell me something when you started a domain and you started a website altogether to start this kind of a platform. What were the challenges? Tell me something about the sourcing process and also how long did it actually take you to go from scratch to live during that time?
So it took us a long time to get on board, not because of the website, where it
Hmm.
was really just getting the brands to come on board and all of that. Because I reached out to 100 different brands, and first of all, many of the brands, they see in this side of the beauty industry, brands at that time, don't forget I'm talking about 2016, I mean
Hmm.
2017, it was
That's
completely different
adapted. Yeah.
scene that time to today. So
Yeah.
brands at that time were very small, independent, and very focused on their local markets. So
Hmm.
talking to the brands and getting them to expand international was very, very difficult. A lot of brands were like, no, we want to focus right now on our local area, local country. We want to be just focused here, and then maybe eventually we can look at international, etc. But eventually I got a couple. I think I started with about 3 or 4 brands
Oh,
on
wow.
board. So
Huh.
we just started with, it was a small number. We started with them, and when we launched, it was silence. You would think you'd launch and it would be like this big bang, but it was actually complete silence, because you know we still had to, we had to start doing the marketing, because like I said, marketing wasn't my forte.
Hmm.
So that was something that was a bit more of a learning curve for me. Getting the digital marketing started, and again, I'm talking about that time, which was completely different. We also were a lot less aware of what digital marketing meant.
Yeah, true. It's
So that was a learning curve. But eventually, after, I mean, I think my first sale was like my mom.
tell me
My
about
second
this.
sale was like my
Everything
best friend.
was- and it's the best sale, I think.
But eventually, when we started doing a bit more of marketing and all of that, then things started picking up. And it was definitely a slow growth, but we've organically grown over the 5 years, which is very nice.
That's lovely. Yeah. I think that's what means a lot when you have genuine audience and when you have managed to. It takes a while. I think it takes that bracket of a couple of years before you start thriving on your own, but definitely gets there.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, we started with 3 or 4, now we're at 23 brands, so it's kind of
Wow.
crazy.
That's absolutely amazing. The other thing I want to know about is that why do you think, of course, it was important to prioritize this for you due to pregnancy, but what do you think are the couple of reasons why people must be prioritizing clean beauty, especially in today's times with the kind of impact that we are seeing?
I mean, I think it's just a basic thing, like we're talking about conscious living right now. Everybody's talking about conscious living at the moment, where we're being a bit more conscious in every aspect of our life,
Hmm. Hmm.
except for and the last place that we're actually considering being conscious is skincare and beauty.
Hmm.
So so for me, I don't think it's like, oh, you should be considering. If you're already considering, living a conscious life, you're already looking at, eating healthier, eating consciously, or like, you're already looking at, okay, how can I recycle? How am I living a bit more consciously? Am I like looking at like what my carbon footprint is in life in general? It should be automatic as well for you to be looking at what you're putting on your skin. Because at the end, whatever you're eating is going inside, but whatever you are putting on your skin is
True.
your skin, which is also part of your body. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for me, it should just be a natural progression. And to be honest, I mean, that's why this side of the industry has blown up, especially after COVID.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's what my next question to you is, that now there are a lot more platforms than perhaps from when you started out, and digital has
Yeah.
become much more evolved today. What makes Miss Palatable different in this kind of a scenario?
I think for us, what makes us very different is we really don't take ourselves seriously. I think a lot of the other
Yeah.
platforms tend to be a little more aspirational, are quite glossy, trying to be the clean version of Sephora, for example. I
Mm.
mean, when we started, we also looked at Sephora, but we looked at it a bit differently, in the sense that we were like, why does Sephora get to have all the fun with all the colorful ads and everything, whereas at that time, organic was again always so earthy and all. So we looked at it in that point of view, that we want to also have fun, but at the same time provide conscious beauty brands, clean, natural, organic beauty brands. And so I think that's where we really set up differently. Also, at the same time, we try and keep everything affordable, because what I've realized over the 5 years is that there is this huge perception that independent brands tend to be a lot more expensive.
Mm. Mm.
If it's a lot more expensive, then naturally people are always going to lean towards picking up your more affordable than L'Oreal's, or your Too Faced and products like that. But if you bring the conscious beauty brands at an affordable price, that is more mid tier. I'm not saying that we're not drugstore level, but we're also not high end.
Mm.
We're on mid. It allows people a lot more access to it. Then the shift to transition makes it a lot easier, being like, okay, I'm already anyway buying a serum for like 140 dirhams, but if I just buy another serum that's at 140 dirhams, but it's more clean and
Yeah.
better for my skin, it's an easier switch
Yeah.
than being like, I'm using 140 dirham serum, but if I buy a clean 240 dirham serum, that's a huge
Huge.
switch.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
in your head you're thinking, then in your mind you're thinking, okay, should I buy that, or should I just go for a Dior serum, or one of those, if I'm going to be spending that kind of money.
True, true. And that's often the that's often the factor that keeps people from making that bridge between anything organic or natural and a normal product. And also, I mean, that's also the way you adapt to the current lifestyle, right? The need of the hour in the city itself or in the region itself to kind of be able to cater to this diverse audience and then play on the cost aspect. Is there any other aspects that you kind of have kept in mind to suit the lifestyle and the culture of the region?
So I feel like, again, from my experience of the 5 years that I've started doing this, awareness has been a big issue. Like, a lot of people don't truly understand what the differences
Mm.
are. So we spend a lot of time also, like if you look at our Instagram page, we give a lot of information on our page. We also have a lot of memes, but
Mm.
that's how we keep it a bit more fun and a bit more relaxed. But we also show, put out content that's a bit more informative. And that's really what our idea is. Like, in essence, like, Miss Palatable is your best friend. Is the girl next door who's
Yeah.
teaching you about, letting you know about, what's coming up in the conscious beauty and all of that. So that's really what keeps us stand apart,
And that
and that's how we differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, and then I have to ask Miss Palatable, tell me your top three. Let's take it to the lighter side now. Your top three beauty and makeup hacks that you kind of swear by and people must know about.
So I am actually very, very lazy when it comes down to beauty.
This
So
is a contradiction to
it
the.
is, which is a contradiction, but that's why you'll notice a lot, some of the brands that I have are actually multi-purposed,
Yeah.
and they're intentional, because I know I'm not the only, as person. Like, I'm either like at 0% or I'm at 100%.
Mm.
when it comes down to like, especially when it comes down to makeup. It's either like I'm wearing absolutely nothing or I'm completely glammed up.
Yeah.
So one of the hacks that I like to do is that I like to use, for example, a lipstick
Mm.
or that I will use on my lips, but I will also use it on my cheeks. So
Yeah.
it just saves me a lot of time, especially in the morning. I during like an everyday time, I prefer to use like CC creams which have SPF 50. So again, that gives me coverage, but at the same time I get my sun protection. So I'm using like two-in-one products. So
Mm.
that's one of my main hacks that I'm always trying to find products that will do more than just one thing.
Yeah. That's the easiest. I completely relate because I'm also a no makeup person. I prefer it the way it is, and
Yeah.
that works the easiest. You just have your lipstick on, which you can clearly see from me right now as well. Or you just, so I absolutely swear by those as well.
Yeah,
And
and it's really amazing what a lipstick can do because as a lot of times, people will first focus on foundation, right?
yes,
Get the coverage on first. But there are times with me, I'll just put a lipstick. I'll use a lipstick as a blush or I'll use a cream blush.
yeah,
No foundation at all.
exactly.
And that's it. And I'll just put a little highlighter to just give that little bit of that glow. And it looks like I've got makeup on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the oldest hack as well, I think. It's been passed
Yeah.
down our generations as well because I remember my mom doing this, my grandmom doing this, and it's the best. It's so simple. And the
Yeah,
best part is it
exactly.
doesn't harm your skin as much as well, especially
Yeah.
in the kind of climates that we live in today. It's most, I think, natural is the best. Mm.
Especially in Dubai, it gets too hot in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me, what are the 5 products on your feed that people need to check out right now?
My favorite is the Melting Lip Powder by Clay Cosmetics. So
Hmm.
that's the one I actually use a lot when it comes down to my lips and cheeks because it's got a matte finish and
Hmm.
it dries down, so it stays on. For
Okay.
example, like if you just use a normal lipstick, it will tend to rub off. But because this one is it's a lip powder and it's quite interesting that it's actually a powder, but once you put it on your skin,
Hmm.
it liquefies.
Okay, that's
So
interesting.
it's just it's
That's the
so it's
first
yeah,
time.
so it's a technology in it where the pigment is actually encapsulated. So once it touches your skin, the capsules break and
Oh,
then the pigment comes out and that's how it liquefies.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's one. Another one is from the same brand. It's a triple CC cream, which has SPF 50 and also gives you this really nice natural coverage. And it's what I use every day on a
Okay,
daily basis. It protects, it gives me my sun protection, but also gives me a little bit of coverage. So it
okay,
evens out my skin and, gives my skin this very nice, healthy look. And it also has like, good ingredients in it. Like I think it's got niacinamide in it as well.
okay, okay. Mm.
So those are two. The third is I have extremely dry skin, so I use hyaluronic acid on a daily basis just to
Okay,
keep my skin hydrated.
yeah.
And the one that I really like is on our website as well. It's by a Korean brand called Jay's Dharma, and
Okay.
it's got 5 different varieties of hyaluronic acids in it. So it's extremely hydrating, but it dries down so quickly.
All right. That's interesting. And it's the fact that it's K-drama, you've already got me hooked that it's Korean skincare. So
It's a really cool brand, and we just launched it actually last year,
check it
at
out.
towards the end of last year. So it's a really cool brand. And the last two, let me think. Um, my foundation is definitely Lily Lolo,
Okay.
and my eyeliner is Lily Lolo as well.
Okay.
And in terms of skincare, um, no, I have curly hair.
Huh.
So we're going to switch to Bouclem, which is a curl care brand,
Okay.
and their Revive 5 hair oil is amazing. So again, I have curly dry hair,
Same.
and I feel like it really helps with my frizz after I've like diffused the hair and used all of it. So what's great about Bouclem, it's a curl care brand, so it's catered and made for girls with curly hair.
That's definitely interesting because I have and I struggle.
Yeah, and if she's come up with a full line, so you've got shampoo, conditioner, treatment, serum. So there's a dry scalp serum which I also use once a week, and
Okay.
you would just put a couple of drops into your shampoo, and it just helps with like, especially if you've got itchy, flaky, um, scalp.
Yeah.
You just put that in your shampoo, and it really helps with
Oh,
that as well.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
I have to check it out. We have to check all of these out. I'm going to do the next.
Yeah.
I'm going to get onto your website and check them out. So thank you for sharing that. And then the last question that I have for you is that what's that one advice that you would give to people who are starting out in the region? And also, what do you think is next for Miss Palatable? Where do you envision yourself?
I would say one advice is that it's definitely a hustle. I mean, Dubai is what's nice about Dubai is it gives you the opportunity to set up businesses, but it's also extremely competitive, and it's a hustle. So
Mm.
I really think, I mean, it's you have to keep resilient,
Mm.
persevere, and
Mm.
you'll get there eventually. But
Yeah.
it's keep working hard and just don't give up.
And where do you see yourself going in the next couple of years?
I think we're looking at hopefully expanding into the region. Currently we are focused more on the UAE. We do ship globally, but in that sense, but of course, we're looking at how we can bring down the shipping costs, especially, which is a big hurdle for anyone who's living outside of the UAE currently for us. So that's on the timeline. And yeah, and we're just looking at ways. What's happening with us right now is we get so many brands sending us emails and wanting to onboard, and what's really interesting right now is that we're seeing a lot of homegrown local brands
That's exactly what I was
asking
going
to
to ask
come
you next.
asking to come on board. So we're actually working on a hybrid model where we build a bit of a Miss Palatable marketplace, which
Hmm.
will allow a lot of these local brands to list on our website and get some exposure via us.
And forgive me, I'm adding one more to my queries from you. But what I wanted to also ask is if you were to, and this is a question again, which repeats across my episodes, and it does because it breaks down complex concepts for the common man. And if you were to explain clean beauty and the importance of it to a 5-year-old, what would you say?
Okay, I would look at it as we've got your skincare, we've got your creams, for example, and we've got good boy product ingredients, and we have naughty boy ingredients. So clean beauty is your creams with the good boy ingredients. It has no naughty boy ingredients in it.
Love it. So
You
to
can tell I have a
everyone out
you you can tell I have a 5-year-old at home.
I totally can. Look out for the good boy ingredients out there on Miss Palatable. Thank you so much, Mukta, for joining me on Karishma Connect. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. And I wish you more power and everything else that you wish to achieve with this platform. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.